OCD isn't just about germs and straight lines. It's a shapeshifter, taking on forms that most people never see coming. Today we're going to expose 5 of these hidden OCD types that can wreak havoc on a person's life. But here's the good news. I don't like to just talk about it. I want to share you the tools of how we're going to kick this OCD to the curb. Once you know what you're dealing with, you can fight back. I want to give you specific strategies. So imagine your mind is constantly questioning if you're even real. That could be the daily reality for people who experience existential OCD. It's not just a casual pondering about big life questions. This is an all-consuming, anxiety-driven obsession that can really just paralyze you. Existential OCD goes way past the normal just life thoughts. It's like your brain gets stuck on repeat, asking the same unanswerable questions over and over and over. What's the point of life? Do I actually exist? Why do we do the things that we do? What happens after I die? These thoughts don't just pop up occasionally, they dominate their every waking moment. Let me paint a picture for you. Sarah, a college student, finds herself unable to focus on her studies. Instead of studying, she finds herself just thinking about life. What's happening? Am I even here? Why do I go to school? Is life even real? There's no purpose to any of this. It starts to interfere in her life. You know what the tricky part about all this is that we actually don't have the answers. We don't. Is this real? We don't know. What happens after this life? We don't know. We all have different ideas and beliefs, but we're not 100% sure, which is why OCD loves to use this against you, because you cannot gain 100% certainty. So then how do we fight back against this existential OCD? Well, we use exposure and response prevention. This is our secret weapon. And here's how it works. Instead of trying to answer those impossible questions, we lean into the uncertainty. You might write out your scariest fears, those questions that keep coming back to your mind. And if they're a question, guess how we're gonna answer it? Do you see any magic words on the screen anywhere? Right there. Maybe, maybe not. Does life exist? Maybe, maybe not. Is there really a God? Maybe, maybe not. It's just, we don't get to know these answers, and we purposely don't. Because guess what our goal is? To go live life. Go towards our values. Even if we don't really exist, who cares? I don't know. Cool, let's do it anyway. I want to get a job, I'm gonna get a job. I want to go exercise, I'm gonna exercise. I want to play a video game, I'm gonna play a video game. Live life, even if we're not sure about any of it. Usually there's a lot of rumination that comes along with this. It's just problem solving, trying to find the meaning. So we want to make sure we're not getting a good answer with this, because we can't get a good answer. Sure, we can read the Bible, scripture, things like that, but it's still a guess at the end of the day. Am I in the matrix? Maybe, maybe not. The more we move closer to this uncertainty, we're gonna get more triggers, but we gotta act like you kind of don't care. So what does that look like? Instead of just saying, I don't care, how can I show my brain that I'm gonna stop figuring this out? You can keep giving me all the prompts and questions you want. I'm just not giving into it. Now let's talk about pure O and how it's closely related to existential OCD. Pure O, or OCD, is all about intrusive thoughts without visible compulsions. Usually you won't see somebody with pure O washing their hands or checking locks. Their compulsions are all happening silently in their mind, treating these hidden forms of OCD, and that's often what rumination is all about. Can I just think about it and think about it and question it and think about it? Treating these hidden forms of OCD presents some unique challenges, because how do you do exposure therapy for thoughts that only exist in your mind? I mean, that's where imaginal exposures come in. So what we do, we write out detailed scripts of your worst fear coming true. And we do it in first person, at least I do it in first person. Let's make it happen, Captain. Then you read them over and over and over. You let that anxiety wash over you. You're trying not to neutralize it, meaning you're trying not to figure it out. We could be answering a lot of those questions with a maybe, maybe not. What's the point? I don't know, blah, 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 blah. So without the outward compulsions, very common ones are just push a thought away. I have a thought I don't like, push it away. I don't want to think about life anymore and the purpose and yada yada yada. Stop thinking about it or distract myself. Those are compulsions. You might see these thoughts and just open your arms up, give you a big hug, smile no matter how scary they seem. It's almost like making a commitment that you are never gonna figure this out. Am I real right now? Am I standing right here? Am I talking to a camera? I really don't know. We'll see. That's not my job to figure this out. The goal with both existential OCD and pure O is to retrain your brain. We're teaching it that the uncertainty is okay. Thoughts are just thoughts. So what am I gonna do now with my life? Oh dang, I'm gonna go play that video game I've been wanting to play. We've talked about OCD messing with your sense of reality, but what if it starts messing with your love life? Imagine feeling head over heels 1 minute and then questioning every aspect about your relationship the next. It's like a roller coaster. If you haven't heard of relationship OCD or Your OCD, it's like a wrecking ball for relationships, man. It comes in 2 flavors. Relationship centered, where you obsess over the quality of your relationship itself, or partner focused, where you can't stop fixating on a partner's supposed flaws. Either way, it's a recipe for a disaster. We're all gonna have questions about a relationship. That's just life. So you might be with somebody amazing, they're kind of funny, they treat you well, you really like them, but your brain won't let you enjoy it. You find yourself constantly asking, do I really love them? Are they attractive enough? What if there's someone better out there? These aren't just normal doubts, they're all-consuming thoughts that won't leave you alone. It can wreck relationships because the ultimate compulsion is just break up. I don't want to keep thinking about this, break up. So then how is this different than normal relationship jitters? Well, the key is how intense and persistent these thoughts are. Because with ROCD, these doubts take over your life. You have a hard time focusing at work. You might lose sleep. You're constantly on edge. You're looking for the problems. Your brain is, at least. So then how do you think we treat this? You probably already know. We use those exposures as well. It takes some creative thinking though. You might write down all the relationship fears that you have and you read them over and over and over. Maybe you look at a picture of the person you're dating and you're like, cool. I noticed that one thing that I don't like about them. I'm just gonna keep noticing it and I'm gonna love it, man. Oh yeah. I'm gonna be with that forever. That's cool. I love it. Maybe we look at pictures of perfect couples and we learn to just see it without putting judgment on it. We're not comparing. We're not looking for red flags. It just is what it is. So in any relationship, stop looking for red flags. They will find you if they exist. You be in a relationship. Take risks. Enjoy it. If you're not enjoying it, you're probably teetering on if you should stay or not. Stay or not, depending on how you feel. Sometimes we just say, I'm staying until there's some really big red flags, but I'm not gonna look for them. There are many different OCD type of themes as well. You know that feeling when you suddenly become aware of your own breathing? Now imagine this awareness doesn't go away. For some people with OCD, their own body becomes a source of constant anxiety. This is called sensorimotor OCD. It's all about getting stuck on these bodily sensations. Things like breathing, blinking, swallowing. Most of these things we don't even think about. Our body just does it. But they're not just noticing them. It's intense anxiety, driven fixation that can really take over someone's life. Here's what it might look like. You're trying to work. Suddenly, you can't stop thinking about your breathing or your swallowing. Is it too loud? Am I doing it right? Before you know, hours have passed, you're still obsessing over every gulp, and you're exhausted. If I stop thinking about this, maybe I'll stop breathing altogether. Now I can't stop thinking about it. So then how do we fight back? What do you think I'm gonna say? Exposure and response prevention, man. This time it looks a little different. Instead of avoiding a sensation, we lean into it. You might set aside time to focus intensely on your breathing or swallowing. And you're just like, man, I love this. I love that I'm noticing right now. I'm taking time to notice. I'm gonna find you before you find me. The key is to let anxiety come without trying to push it away or fix the sensation. Enjoy it. Change your relationship with it. Maybe you're telling your brain that you want to notice it forever. Please don't go away. No, don't go away. We don't want an end date with this. It can last the rest of your life. It can last next week. We don't care. We've accepted it fully. Here's where it kind of gets tricky. For some people, they notice on purpose to make sure they're breathing. Other people, they're just annoyed that they continue noticing. So exposures might be a little different. If I don't want to notice, my exposure is to notice. If I'm noticing on purpose, my exposure is to make sure I'm not noticing. We create different exposures to say, hey, I'm going to distract myself so much that I forget that I'm even breathing and maybe I'll pass out. Hopefully, that'd be cool. Amazing. Awesome. I don't want to notice. I'm going to set 50 timers a day and every time it goes off, I'm going to sit for 60 seconds. Oh man, I'm going to notice it. I'm going to love it. Oh yeah, look at every breath. So great. I'm not going to control it. I'm going to tolerate this feeling, build my muscles. A lot of people, when they try this treatment, they get to a point where they're like, okay, is it working though? Is it working now? And then it kind of spirals them back into obsessions because they're noticing the sensations again. Working doesn't mean that you won't notice the breathing anymore. Working means that you don't care if you're noticing the breathing anymore. Think about that. Here's one you might not have thought about. Tourettic OCD. This is where things get really interesting. Tourettic OCD blurs the lines between tics and compulsions. It's like OCD and Tourette's had a baby. Instead of the usual checking or cleaning compulsions, you might see more movement-based things like rubbing or tapping, repeated movements because they felt a sensation, typically quick jerking motions. So then how do we tell the difference between Tourettic OCD and just regular Tourette's or tics? Sometimes it's not easy. But here's the key. OCD compulsions are usually done to reduce anxiety or to make a feeling go away. They have control over it. They seem automatic, but they have no choice. While tics are more like an urge that needs to be released. But it is very automatic and often happens without them being fully aware. So an example of Tourettic OCD is that I pick up my mug and I notice a sensation on my finger. And so because I notice that, I gotta put that mug down and I gotta pick it back up. And I gotta get that same feeling on my finger. Or maybe when I did that, my arm jerked. So I gotta make sure I get that same feeling. It's almost like just right OCD. But except for with this, there's more of those jerking motions. So we use exposure and response prevention with this, but we also combine it with habit reversal training, which is often used for tics. You might practice resisting an urge to perform the compulsion, which would be doing the tic. We purposely might go out of our way to trigger this feeling to say, do it, and then we're not going to. We're gonna do something else. Create what's called a competing response. We're gonna do something different. So maybe I make a fist, or I play with a fidget, or I put my fingers like this. And it's not to say, I gotta hold back so I don't do it. I'm actually gonna sit with it and be like, that's cool, that's awesome. Yeah, love this feeling. This is great. Yeah, I wanna pick up my mug that same way. Cool. That means I'm never gonna pick up that mug that way again. Sit with that uncomfortable feeling, let it reduce all on its own. We may take any threat also and leave it uncertain. This feeling's gonna last forever. Yeah, I hope so. Cool. Maybe it will. That would be great. Sometimes this is mixed with magical thinking OCD. If I don't jerk my body in this certain way, something bad's gonna happen. Cool, let's test it out. When your body tolerates this enough, your brain finally gives up. Okay, fine. I'm gonna stop telling you to move your body in this certain way because you don't care. There are so many different themes of OCD. I'm curious what kind you have. You can let me know down in the comments. OCD is so tricky. We've got the tools to fight back. Whether you're seeing a therapist or you're doing my Master Your OCD online course, there is help for you. Because I take you through step by step how to do exposures for all these different types of themes and ones I didn't even talk about in this video. Go check that out in the description because recovery is possible. If you notice throughout this entire video, exposure and response prevention is the treatment. This is the one we're doing. We gotta trust in the process. And to level up your OCD skills even more, watch the video here. You're gonna need it. It's gonna help you out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Their compulsions are all happening but it is very automatic